The meeting was scheduled to last exactly 90 minutes, which everyone knew meant 2 hours and a headache. I was seated at the curved table, trying to look like a professional representative of humanity while my chair quietly recalibrated itself for the 4th time, apparently offended by my posture. Across from me, delegates murmured through translation fields, voices smoothing into polite sameness. I was practicing the ancient human art of not falling asleep with my eyes open when the room shifted, not physically, but in that way reality does when it decides to surprise you without warning. She entered without ceremony, because of course she did. No dramatic announcement, no hush. One moment there was empty space, the next she was there, and my brain immediately abandoned all its assigned duties. My thoughts tripped over each other like interns in zero gravity. I forgot my name. I forgot my species. I forgot that staring was considered rude across at least 14 known civilizations. I stared anyway. She looked human enough to be unfair about it, except for the long ears sweeping back along her hair, elegant and unmistakably alien. I felt something in my chest react as if a hidden switch had been flipped without my consent. My heart rate spiked, which my wrist implant helpfully displayed in bright red, because it hated me and wanted everyone to know. I attempted to recover by straightening up and instead knocked my datapad onto the floor. It skidded, bounced, and came to rest at her feet, as if offering itself as tribute. "Impressive," I said, meaning to sound smooth and instead sounding like I just met gravity for the first time. Her gaze settled on me. I knew it had because the translation field hesitated, recalibrated, and quietly chimed in my ear, as if clearing its throat. She didn't smile, but something about her attention felt sharp and focused, like she had already noticed far more than I wanted her to. She handed back my datapad with a motion that was precise and unhurried. "You are experiencing a measurable emotional surge," she said calmly. "Yes," I said. "I do that. It's a human feature. Comes standard." A ripple of low amusement passed through the room, or maybe it was just her. The sensors embedded in the table flickered, struggling to classify the exchange as appropriate diplomatic behavior. My implant tried to suggest breathing exercises. I ignored it. As the meeting dragged on, words flowed around us about trade corridors and shared research platforms, but my awareness kept circling back to her. Every time our eyes met, I felt like I was failing a test I hadn't studied for. She, on the other hand, seemed entirely comfortable, occasionally tilting her head in a way that made her ears shift, as if they were listening to more than just sound. At one point, she leaned slightly toward me. "You are making no attempt to conceal your reactions," she observed. "I considered it," I said, "but I'm very bad at lying to people I just met and immediately fell for." The translation field went silent for half a second, then repeated my words with clinical accuracy. Somewhere, a protocol officer inhaled sharply. Her eyes widened, not in shock, but in interest. "Honesty without strategy," she said. "How inefficient." "I know," I replied. "We're working on it. Slowly." For the first time, she smiled, just a little, and I had the distinct sense that the meeting no longer mattered. Something had already begun, quietly and without permission, and every sensor in the room knew it, even if none of them knew what to do about it. By the time the meeting reached its midpoint, the station's artificial day cycle had shifted, which was impressive considering none of us could see outside, and half the delegates didn't experience time in a linear way. I was experiencing it very linearly, mostly as a series of moments in which I became acutely aware that she was still there and that my feelings had not decided to calm down and be professional. A small hovering orb drifted between us, projecting agenda updates. It paused, blinked amber, then adjusted its language complexity downward, which felt personal. I leaned back and whispered, "Even the machine thinks I'm an idiot." She heard me anyway, her ears angled slightly, a movement so subtle I might have imagined it if my attention hadn't been locked onto her like a malfunctioning targeting system. "The machine is adapting," she said. "You are not." Also accurate. She seemed to consider this as valuable data. When it was her turn to speak, the room shifted again, not with drama, but with attention. Her words were measured, but there was an ease to them that cut through the usual diplomatic stiffness. I tried to listen. I really did. Unfortunately, my neural implant chose that moment to inform me that my emotional indicators were still elevated and suggested disengagement protocols. I muted it. As discussion broke into smaller exchange clusters, she found herself beside me without explanation. The proximity felt deliberate. My implant lit up again, this time asking if I was in danger. "Not yet," I muttered. "You speak to your internal systems aloud," she noted. "They get lonely." She made a soft sound that might have been laughter. "Your kind externalizes internal conflict. Only the interesting parts." We stood near a panel that displayed star maps updating in real time, trade routes pulsing like veins. She glanced at it, then back at me. "Your emotional response earlier was immediate. You did not analyze first." "Nope. Straight from eyes to heart. Skipped the brain entirely." "In my culture," she said, "that would be considered refreshing. Also alarming. I get that a lot." A service drone passed, offering nutrient wafers. I took one out of reflex and immediately regretted it. "Do not eat these," I warned her. "They taste like regret compressed into a square." She accepted one anyway, examined it, then took a bite. Her expression shifted, thoughtful. "You are correct. I try to be." There was a pause, comfortable and strange. I realized she was watching me watch her, not with suspicion, but with open curiosity. It felt like standing in a room without mirrors for the first time. "You are aware," she said, "that I noticed your feelings the instant they formed." "I assumed so," I said. "Hard to miss a human emotional flare. We're basically walking fireworks." "And yet," she continued, "you did not retreat." I shrugged. Running seemed dishonest. Her ears angled again, a clear signal this time. "Honesty without concealment is rare." "Careful," I said. "You'll make us sound impressive." The meeting reconvened, but something had already shifted. As we returned to our seats, the station's systems hummed, gravity steady, translations flowing. Officially, nothing had changed. Unofficially, I had the distinct feeling that two species had just taken a small, unscheduled step toward each other, and no one had bothered to file the paperwork. The meeting ended the way all historic interstellar meetings did, with polite signals, archived transcripts, and everyone pretending nothing unusual had happened. Chairs slid back, translation fields dissolved, and delegates dispersed into corridors calibrated for wildly different biologies. I stood there a moment too long, because for the first time in my career I wasn't eager to escape a room full of diplomats. She approached before I could overthink it, which was generous of her. "You are recalibrating," she said. "I do that when something important happens," I replied, "or when I eat station food." This was not nutritional distress. Good. That would have been awkward. She gestured toward a quieter corridor, flagged as neutral space by the station's AI. Pulsed green, then politely looked away. As we walked, my implant remained silent, either out of respect or exhaustion. I realized I was calmer. The frantic edge had softened into something steadier, like my emotions had finally decided to sit down and have a conversation. "You altered the meeting's emotional balance," she said. "Several delegates registered confusion." "I apologize on behalf of humanity," I said. "We confuse ourselves regularly." "You did not apologize earlier." "I've grown," I said. "It's been a long 2 hours." She stopped. I stopped. The corridor hummed, gravity perfectly tuned, as if the station itself was listening. "In my culture," she said, "connection is not declared lightly. We do not speak of fate. We observe, we test, we confirm." "And?" I asked. "And you did not hide. You did not posture. You were inefficiently honest." "I really should put that on my resume." Her smile came easier now. "I am accustomed to power, status, careful silence. Your openness disrupted my expectations." "I'm glad," I said, then paused. "I mean, only if that's not bad." "It is rare," she said. "Rare things are valuable." The station chimed softly, informing us that shuttle windows were opening. Time, inconvenient as ever, was moving forward. "You will return to your world," she said. "Eventually," I said. "We're very attached to it." "And I to mine." A silence settled, not heavy, but complete. I realized then that I wasn't afraid of it ending. Whatever this was, it had already changed me. I no longer felt like a human pretending to belong in a larger universe. I felt like I actually did. "I noticed," she said gently, "that your emotional readings have stabilized." "Yeah," I said. "Turns out honesty is less stressful than panic." She extended her hand, fingers warm, familiar despite everything. I took it without hesitation. "This is not a conclusion," she said. "It is an acknowledgement." "I'll take it," I said. Humans are very good at acknowledging things. As we parted, the corridor lights dimmed, then brightened, resuming their routine. I walked toward my shuttle lighter than I'd arrived, carrying no secrets, no regrets, just the quiet certainty that something true had been recognized. Not by fate, not by force, just by two beings who chose to see each other clearly and didn't look away.